All right. I think we'll do one more chapter here, and then we can take a look at the wiki again, maybe update it with some information from these chapters. We should have a detailed description of the slithers on there, I think, now that we've found a good spot to reference from my old stories here. Yeah, if we scroll down, you guys can see I started some of these. Like this is back in 2015 when I was writing these chapters, but I wrote it for several years, and I'm hoping to get back into it as we continue to develop Gethra as a world and setting. All right, so next up we have Dago 5. All right. Oh, hey Varx. Yeah, I'm so each storyline has a different duration, so kind of depending on where that character ends up. So for Vaynuth, I think we were only just starting out on how long her storyline is, and for Dago, we're getting part of the way through. We've been doing about 2 or 3 chapters a day for the podcast, and we'll see it kind of picking up. Hopefully, continuing on the platforms. There is some limitations for the podcasting sites in terms of how many I can upload a month, unless I'm in their paid subscription model. So I'll have to see how that goes. But I'm really enjoying kind of getting all of this content into an audio version again, since it's only been written so far. And I know a lot of people, like even several of my friends, who will probably listen to it this way, but might not have made the time to read it or carry the hefty book version around all the time. So I'm looking forward to kind of seeing where that goes. So I think we'll read one more chapter here, Dago 5, and then we'll work on the wiki. And if anyone wants to kind of chip in, we'll see if there's any interest in that today. I do think, Bobicus was here earlier, and he had been playing the role of. Yeah, I think it's good to have some stories in the world building, as well. So that's kind of what I'm hoping. Tomorrow, I'm gonna really drive the world building in the direction of story, and we'll bring in some players hopefully to take on different roles. So nice. I hope you're feeling better, Bobicus. If that's yeah, um, yeah. So yeah, we had He Who Basks in Radiance that Bobicus came up with this week with us. So I'll have to see if he comes back into the story right away, because we're kind of focusing. If we look at the map here, we're kind of focusing on this area, I think, at least as the heart of the next problem. And He Who Basks in Radiance. Hey, Xanderfell's back. Yes, He Who Basks in Radiance is out in the expanse here, so we'll have to see. So Xanderfell, I think you were playing Nayar. His name was Lord Nayar, if I'm correct, on Varnordos. So I'm just mentioning to. Oh, or was that? No, yeah. Sorry, I've mixed it up. Sorry about that. Let me just refresh myself on our details. That was one of the others. That was. World characters. Yes, you were Kelnos, right? Yeah, there we go. We didn't actually find out where in the world Kelnos was. So actually, why don't we interrupt our podcast just for a minute here, and we'll figure that out, just so that we know how relevant that'll be next time. Oh, interesting. That must have been kind of a different thing to watch. Well, here, why don't we get the map here, make that bigger, and we'll pull up one of our randomizers like we were doing before. I think it would be saying something if he didn't win. Yeah, yeah, there's definitely some systems designed for that and some campaigns. So Xanderfell, if you don't mind chipping in again, for Argos Kelnos, um, Lord Argos Uri Kelnos. He's an exiled lord who fell in with some bandits. So I'm just curious what kind of lords he was around. Do you think it was kind of like the nobility of a city or an empire, or was he a ruler of a city-state, like some sort of baron or duke who ruled a whole city and was ousted and ended up in the country? That'll help me figure out a good setting in the world for Argus Kelnos. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. So let's see here. So there's a couple areas that could be the case. So we've got some of these places: East Point, Sanazar, Sanazar less so actually. Maybe Vagrun might have that kind of a single ruler, but it's not really an empire. It's just kind of a city or a state. And then the Great Isle has a lot of that. The Great Isle, almost every city on the Great Isle is like its own independent little mini country. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Well, it sounded like people were conspiring against him. It wasn't just a scandal that he had to leave. It sounds like because he wanted to get his vengeance on the people who had cost him his position. So I think some people must have schemed to have him removed. So let's see here. I think I'm going to make the Great Isle more likely because it is the most likely place. There's just a ton of little individual city states there, where he could have been set out from there. There's also a lot of bandits because it's so many individual little nations that you end up with no man's land between each, and you get a lot of lawless areas. So let's see here. Oops, 11. Do you mean it like his appearance, perhaps, or what kind of description were you thinking? There we are. 5 is the Torn Shore. Yeah, sure. If you want to send me some of those details, that sounds good. Keep in mind, I might need to tweak things slightly if it doesn't fit with the existing world building a little bit, but we'll definitely take a look at what you came up with. All right, so I rolled the Torn Shore as the area that he was kind of a baron for. Now, there's not a lot of cities there, at least in this time period. This map is from the setting of the stories we've been reading, Lives of Gethra. But it could be that in the past there was some other cities, or could be some minor cities that I just haven't put on the map yet because characters haven't gone there to explore it. It's up to you. It's up to you, Xanderfell. If you want to send me some of the details about his appearance and whatnot, I'll probably be putting it on the wiki, so it's not going to remain a secret for long. But unless there's something that yeah. But the whole point is kind of to add these into the kind of shared world idea that we're coming up with here. All right, so for the Torn Shore, I think, let's say maybe even Elpan, the city. That's going to come up in the next Dago chapter, actually. So if you want to stick around for the next thing that I'm going to do here, I'm going to read another chapter in a minute. But we'll be reading about the city that Lord Argos Yorai Kelnos was at one time related to. All right, let's see here. Fallen with some bandits. Exiled Lord of Elpan. All right, we'll circle back to his formal title and stuff. I just wanted to figure out where in the world he was because it might be some kind of relevant as well. I was planning to kind of come back to working on the wiki a little bit after the next chapter, so I think maybe while you're working on your little description of Yorai Kelnos, I think I'll go ahead with the Dago chapter. But I was just excited to see you pop back in, so I could kind of flesh out some of the details here. And yeah, just to tell you, all you guys who are watching now, tomorrow my plan is tomorrow evening for my next stream. I think I'm going to really focus on the storyline that we started with this revolution here, where there's this cult that's crept up in the city of Ith, and other cities know about this cult. Some of them even like the cult, and some of them don't. So all of a sudden, all these cities are kind of have some tension with each other. And so because of that, we're going to have this kind of whole historical event that we'll figure out, and go kind of year by year through it and figure out what what's going to happen, and see how that shapes the history of Gethra. And with that in mind, we're going to have any characters who are near there will end up playing a role. So it looks like Yorai Kelnos, who's over in Elpan. So Xanderfell, if you want to tune in tomorrow night, we might have there might be some role that Yorai Kelnos can play in how these events shape out. But we'll have to see. And then I think as well we had one of the other users who was Aeon Isitar, his name was, his character anyway, Aeon Isitar. He had created this character in Elakar who was a spy master, and so he will play a role in that, I imagine, as well, if he decides to tune in tomorrow. If not, we can just work with whoever's there, bring in some new perspectives on this struggle, and go from there. But that's kind of the plan for tomorrow night. Tonight, I think we're going to do a little bit more of this, the podcast. We'll read the next Dago chapter, and then we will see how much time we have left, and maybe do some more additions to the wiki just to keep some details going there. But yeah, if you if you guys want to kind of help out the channel as well, and also just have a good time tomorrow night, feel free to invite some friends or something. It would be great to have even more people interacting. I'd really like to get several voices at once, where we can say, oh, here's what happened this year with this cult revolution struggle, and see what are people going to do about that. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Also, we'll continue throughout the week, so if you can't make it tomorrow night, no worries. We'll just catch me the next time. All right, so let's stay here on Dago's page, and yeah. So Xanderfell, if you're still here, if you want to kind of know about that city where your character has been situated, this next Lives of Gethra chapter, it's 700 years later, so it's a while later, but we're going to see kind of a little snippet of what Elpan might look like at some points in history. Just have another sip here.